thing, and they're like, well, it's really up in the air.
Yep. Like, it's always nonsense. What have you done?
Thank you. I think it's Cuphead.
Oh, Cuphead!
Is this yours?
It's a helper's.
Oh.
Why are...
I don't know how to play Cuphead.
It's time for you to play Cuphead.
Oh, I don't know how to play this. Oh, no, I'm dead.
Oh, this is a good boss, too.
Oh, I'm already dead.
No, you still got one life. Hey, look, you parried.
Oh,
you parried again.
You guys can't see it, but
maybe you should
trust that
stream this game soon.
If I... okay, we're not playing that anymore.
That was a fun little Cuphead intermission I did not expect.
I was handed a Switch and given no explanation.
You got a couple of hits in, though.
Yeah. I think maybe second try. First try if you didn't look.
That boss is like pretty deep into the game too, so I'll give you a benefit of the doubt. I guess.
Spoiler alert?
Question mark? For those of you who like Splatoon, that's Splatoon. I mean, I love Splatoon, but
I like
Cuphead.
Splatoon.
Cuphead is actually one of my favorite games of all time, and there's DLC for it coming out soon.
Oh, is there?
Yes,
I didn't
there's
know.
an expansion. They're adding another playable character. There's going to be like a whole other world added. I can't wait to see that.
I think their LAN adapter problems are over, and they are getting started with their next match, and Tower Control, Sturgeon Shipyard.
All right, and pretty part of the course weapons right out the gate. This should be expected in losers finals, but I especially like the fact that this is a very ink-heavy comp from both sides.
I think it's interesting that Vic Villain decided to change from her usual bucket sloshing machine into a cutter. I think that is actually going to do pretty well, considering that it can maybe rival the other cutter's armor.
If anything, it helps provide that push that could be needed, especially with like this initial break, which we even see Vic on the point. But like, I think it's also really good as you come around to the second and into the third, where you lose all your cover, and all of a sudden it's a hell zone.
For sure.
But we already see Overrated Underdogs doing a good job of being able to push
I really like what I'm seeing from Overrated Underdogs. They're pushing so far forward in front of the tower that honestly, Squids Calamity can't even make it to the tower before pushing it back.
Yeah, like a 30-point lead is no joke for Tower Control on this map, especially if they're able to play like defensively as well as they played offensively.
I think that, and like we said before, we see both Stingrays on both sides just because it's Tower Control. The GG Ray.
It's all right. So like we've been highlighting a lot of when it's really good on a map. But for a game mode, you don't have to worry about how well the rest of the map is controlled. You have one little target that's very well highlighted. You just gotta follow it a little bit, and anyone who's around it.
I still don't play Stingray because I can't follow the tower.
Sorry, you can work on it.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to it. We'll revisit this.
One step at a time. Either way, that tower is staying pretty deep in purple ink. Are they going to try to break ahead of that 30 points? Yes, they are. Already chipping away at the last checkpoint.
I honestly think that they could make this work if those missiles don't take out Vic.
There's so many around, too.
But I think that getting past that checkpoint is it's really important because that is just a straightaway path to it.
It's a super defensible area, so like breaking past that final checkpoint, it's not quite curtains, but it's pretty damn close.
We see that I really like what J-Man's doing. They are kind of maintaining their position. They're not really backing up too far. They were staying in the middle. They're readying their Stingray now, but they were staying in the middle while the rest of their team was kind of down. And I think that you, as a backliner, need to not push back so far to let the other team move forward with that momentum.
It's also like big judgment calls too. Like you need to know when you can stop providing that back support for your team, and when you have to like really fall back, defend yourself, but still get yourself ready to go back into the mix to help whoever of your team is left after those big plays. And speaking of big plays, we're seeing plenty of them.
This is getting way too close for comfort on the side of Overrated Underdogs. They might. I'm hoping that they can keep their cool and push that back without trickling it one by one, and they did. They kept their cool and they got that team wipe But, you know,
Really
a
dangerous.
25-15 lane game is close.
And with a minute and a half left on the clock, like really the only option for both of these teams is just cap the point. That's the only way to really secure your victory because like breaking past the rest of that checkpoint, after that, it's not difficult to get to the 15 points that are remaining. And even at that, the 15 points that are remaining, that's a very small buffer before you're just outright winning the game. So like something's got to give in the last 70 seconds.
We'll see. It seems like both teams are kind of a little hesitant about where to go and what to do. I thought Lix was gonna fall off the map.
Almost. They were almost out of there, but managing to jump up got them out scot-free. Lets them live to see another day, and I feel like picks at this particular point are like really, really important because now if you die, it's like whatever, because you're not going to be able to be there for your team when you need for potentially the last push. And seeing the armor break, that might be what we were seeing from Squids.
Oh, Lix not quite hiding themselves well enough.
Oh,
See
okay.
if this Inkjet can take out some of those not quite working out for Squids Calamity.
Missile's just too good.
I think this is it's gonna be tough, really, really tough to come back because all of Squids Calamity is coming back to the spawn. Even if Overrated Underdogs just delay them, they couldn't get on the tower. Yeah.
All right, solid play out of game one. We'll see how the bounce back occurs as we go into what's going to be pretty hectic.
I think Overrated Underdogs just need a little bit of warm-up. And I think using that warm-up, they're really moving with the momentum. And, you know, like I said before, they seem like they're really happy playing with each other.
Yeah, everyone seems to be having a good time, which, like, is especially impressive considering that it's losers finals. Like,
Yeah.
This is where the pressure's really on for teams to start performing. Because, like, it's the difference of making it to the top 4 cut, but then also it's like, that's your knockout game.
Yeah, so I think that maybe Squids Calamity is feeling a little bit of heat, trying to stay in this to win this.
Well, they've got 2 more opportunities, then they can't let it slip.
Yeah, would be their last 2 opportunities to stay in this tournament.
Indeed. Everyone seems fairly focused, too. So, like, feel like we got a good set ahead of us, regardless if it's 1 more or 2 more games.
Definitely. And like you said, Moray Towers, Rainmaker, anybody could take it up that wall and get to 30 points.
Like, this lends itself so well to being either an ultimate stall fest or to being, like, this could be just done just like that.
Yeah. I believe that teams right now are picking out their loadouts, really not letting this time go to waste. I think it seems like they're discussing what kind of strategies they want to use. I see them talking to each other and not really readying up because they want to use all of that time.
Yeah, they have a certain amount of time allotted to them to actually discuss a game plan as they get into their loadouts, what they're going to do in the upcoming game. You might as well use all that time that you have to, especially because it could potentially always be your last.
All right, we're just waiting for 2 more people to ready up, 1 on each team. Vic looks very serious about what kind of plan she's got for her team.
We could see something goofy. Moray Towers gives you that opportunity to, like, get silly with your play and for it to work really well.
Yeah. Are there any specials that you think you're going to see in this map?
You know, I always expect the Stingray, but I personally like Storm on this one.
I do too, yeah.
I feel like because there's like so many different layers to what you've got to cover, and also a decent amount of like gray space that you could just potentially leap to your fate. Like, it lends itself really well.
And I think it because it's not stopped by elevation, I think it works out even better.
And then another special that's not really affected by elevation that I wouldn't be surprised for us to see is armor.
Armor, yes. I do like myself a good Enza.
But we'll worry about that as we go into the game itself. We see the first break, but now it's a matter of like where that ink lies. See where the first kills come from.
Good choice on Silly to really make that retreat, not pushing up too forward, and ultimately getting taken out from that.
See how this initial push goes. Are they going to go up the wall is actually a big question, too, because, like, while it might be commonplace knowledge, sometimes players do try to just snake their way up the ramp, which is much more dangerous, but I guess it could work if you have your team fight head first.
I think that Dooley's just let go of their shoot button just a little bit too early. But that is 3 down on the side of, I believe, Overrated Underdogs? Yeah, giving an opportunity for Squids Calamity to make that push.
Oh, the baller breaks before he gets a chance to do anything on the further push. And yeah, it looks like they're actually taking it up the more traditional route. They're not going for the wall. I think. I can't tell, like, because like the fight itself is bringing itself along the ramp, but there is ink on the wall. It's definitely possible.
I think what's really important about this map is that you have to take into consideration wall paint. In general, you don't really think too much about it, but if you kind of leave it be, it makes itself an easy path for the enemy to make that push. And we see here, with 3 minutes left on the clock, Silly trying to get to that Rainmaker, but not quite being able to make it there before that push. And there are a few specials on the side of Squids Calamity. Oh no! And like I was saying before, you really have to take care of that wall paint. I think that is a pretty significant lead on the team, on the side of Overrated Underdogs. Potentially giving them that advantage to be able to win this whole set. Left on the clock. Squids Calamity trying to make that push, not letting Overrated Underdogs get that foothold.
Yo, what did I miss? Yo, this is Hangman. What's going on?
This is not Hangman.
This is Hangman. We're gonna get. Oh, they're trying to hit the shoes. It's down there.
Oh, yes.
The little gold ball.
That is the Rainmaker.
I knew that. The Rainmaker. You pick that up and you can shoot like a big gun. You can shoot the opponents with it. It's nice. Oh, Hangman's back. Hold on.
Some call it Painmaker. He calls it the Shoes It What's-Its.
He called it. Oh no! Did he say some stupid name for something that's very normal?
And let's go, Squids Calamity, making that push just a little bit farther than Overrated Underdogs.
It's like by such a small margin too. But one thing I want to bring up about Rainmaker is just like Clamblitz, and you brought this up plenty of times, is like it's really never over till it's over. So even though we've got less than a minute left on the clock, the Rainmaker resets itself back to normal. This could still be anyone's game. There's not that much further that they need to push.
Yeah, it's Moray. It's Moray.
It's some Moray. Like, coming into this map, what I expected was like people abusing the layout of the map, like from how it's normally seen, or at least in ranked. But to see it played so straightforward, it's almost bizarre. Like, to see Moray played how it was intended, and it's such a vicious firefight right at the end.
And wow, that game goes to Squids Calamity. They're showing us that they are not quite yet out of the game, giving us a game 3.
Just barely, though.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Although, as haphazard as a game as it was, it brings us into a really interesting combination. We're going to be going to Clam Blitz, but it's going to be on Matsum Arena.
It's a map and a mode.
It sure is. Like, I'm going to be real with you. This definitely the type of map and mode where if I see this is on ranked, I'm like, let's see other video games. I'm straight up.
That bad?
It's bad for a couple of reasons, in my opinion. One, the layout of the clam spawns are ridiculous. It's super hard to shut down a team if you can control their spawns, be it from like taking a clam or taking like a few clams and then keeping them from respawning, or like locking down that space with ink.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's not particularly fun. But then also, the way that you can get your power clams across, it's really weird. It's like a linear, but like a bad kind of a linear.
Yeah, it's either a bad route or another bad route.
Yeah, there's no winning on this. You either go through a heavily defensible corridor that has a lot of cover, not that much position for you to really
Imagine
make use
there are bubbles down that corridor.
Then that's not a corridor.
It's
That's an early grave. And then your other option is the pit that's on the right. That's just a leap of faith. That could just as easily be blocked by bubbles.
Just imagine somebody's waiting there for you on the other side. Right around the corner.
It's so bad. Like, I feel like this is one of the combinations that it highlights that not every map is designed perfectly. Which, that's one thing I want to emphasize. It's like, a lot of maps work really well. Like,
I think so.
Like, I was praising Mako Mart for it earlier, where it's like, I think that map works beautifully for every game mode, including Turf War.
Yes.
Matza Maria,
Maybe some better on some modes than others.
I think it leaves a lot to be desired, but I'm not the one playing right now.
I think it's not a bad map. I think that there are better modes on the map than maybe Clams.
I could agree to that. But at the end of the day, Alana, it's not up to you and me. It's up to the teams that are stationed over there, how well they can maneuver around Matza Maria.
To get into that game 3, they're really fighting for that top spot.
No, yeah, this is a tooth and nail battle now. Like, I'm glad we've gotten a lot of good game 3s.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
like, this is the one I was, like, most excited for it being a game 3.
The run back game 3.
Yes, it's got plot to it. Who thought there was going to be a
Character
storyline
development.
in such a tournament?
This is the anime battle we've been waiting for.
That's what I'm trying to see. Nonetheless, though, both teams taking all the time that they can to prepare themselves and get their weapons lined up. Like, this is it. Although, you know, it brings the question, Milana, how do you really prepare for Matza Maria Clamblitz? Like, inking is important, but you can't really pick too heavily into ink-controlled weapons.
I think you just really have to focus on those 1v1s. You want to get those picks, and I know it's like easy to say like, oh, just win forehead, but like, I honestly think that it makes a big deal in this round.
I'm gonna agree with you. They just gotta win.
Just win forehead.
There's only one team can win though. And looking at both the comps, I feel like it's fairly even-handed for, like you were mentioning, like both teams ready to fight where it's needed. But seeing where the initial break lies as far as like who can control it, not just like the center point, but like that entire lane. Like both areas of elevation of both halves. That area off the side, we're gonna watch for that little pit.
The leap
early.
of faith area. We'll call it that.
It's like seeing how that comes into play because so far we haven't seen maps played in their super traditional senses, so we'll see how things get mixed up.
I honestly think that at that point, Overrated Underdogs could have made a push, but hesitated just a little bit too much, giving Squids Calamity the opportunity to kind of come back and kind of play off that mistake.
I feel like this is not the type of map, for any game mode, mind you, where you can hesitate. Like, if you're pushing with your team, like, you move a little bit past neutral zones, you've committed to that point. You might as well, like, bring it all the way home.
And you see what happened right there. Using that hesitation, Squids Calamity makes that push. The Clams very conveniently spawning right next to the basket.
There's another thing I was bringing up, too. It's like, hey, look at all these clams that are right here when I least need them. Like, I guess I'll just be behind by so much. 54 points. Honestly, a very comfortable lead to hold with this map. Your penalty's not too big, but also, like, you're putting a lot of pressure on the opposing team to at least do something.
Definitely.
Like, if they're not going to be going for picks heavily, they need to do more than just put a single power clam on.
Like, and the jumps are coming out. bringing those clams right into the basket.
But only won the second one,
Oh no,
missed!
the miss! That's quite unfortunate, but I don't think that pushes over.
It's being kept alive, but just barely. I don't know if it's going to be able to break that 54-point marker, though.
I don't think they have the clamps for it. Oh, they're tossing clams to each other, and it's not really quite working. It kind of fell apart after that clam missed.
If that one power clamp didn't miss, that would have been such a good counter offensive. But that one miss is so bad.
It was a pretty big miss. They could have gotten the lead from that.
A lesson to be learned for sure, but the game is still definitely on, still pretty heavy on for both sides now. Because there's no comfortable lead either way.
I think it's actually pretty funny, just for this map in particular, that I don't think I see nearly as many people miss their footballs than on this map. And I'm not really sure why.
It's so tantalizing to like throw and you think you have a good angle, and then all of a sudden it's in the water. Or like it's off of a geometry that you can't get to without having complete control of your opponent's territory. And like missing the power clam on some maps, it's like, oh well shucks. Now my plan isn't working as well with my team. On this map,
oh my God,
that's
the
it.
bloodbath. There's one left standing and it is Todd.
Let's go, Todd! No last man standing. With almost a power climb of his own, which is honestly a really good way for the team to bounce back. And everyone's coming back at once. So you know that initial break from spawn, everyone's already organized. You don't have to worry about communicating it too well. It's naturally happening. As far as ink control is going, and I'm just looking ahead of this map now, like, a lot of yellow on the fields. But I don't know how much that's actually helping.
I feel like they're really struggling to make that push. Rapture trying to maintain his position there. I don't think Dambu decided to jump in with that ball, although it may have been not a bad option considering the penalty is less than a full football. Oh, just kidding. Anyway.
Now they're just going to get as many clams in as they can, trying to press on forward. They're going to do just that, but a couple of misses. This time someone in position to pick it back up. And it's coming down to the stretch. They're one clam away. Are they going to be able to get it? Yes, they do.
Did. Oh, and we see a pop off. We see a quick pop off.
We got people jumping out of their chairs for this one. Nice.
I think in that game in particular, they played the stronger game. They made the picks that needed to be made. They turfed the areas that needed to be turfed, and they really showed themselves as the more coordinated team.
They were, and I was a bit worried coming into this. How you highlighted how like the picks were going to be a lot more important just overall, and then we immediately see a bloodbath. So now I'm thinking like, well, now how important is it if no one's alive? But like, they organized themselves really well.
I think they did.
And the coordination was showing throughout the entire set. It was just a matter of like action was very even-handed, but this is where the cards fell.
Definitely.
And with that, our top 4 is decided.
Yes. Let me see if I can remember.
Don't worry, I'm not going to put you on point for that.
Okay.
But we will be cutting